What is up, quality people? Welcome back to a quality pod. My name is Joshua Prophet, and I'm joined by my beautiful girlfriend,
Kenya McIntosh.
Yes, we got a quality show lined up for you guys. TRAD or FAD. That is the theme of the show. We're going to see if these traditional wives, these TRAD wives as they call them, and these traditional values, are they a way of living, or is it just a fad that a lot of people just want to get out of here, get rid of? That's what we're going to be covering today. First, we want to acknowledge some of the quality people in the chat. We got on Cindy saying that she says hello from up north. Luxurious Elements is in the house. We want to recognize you. Thank you to all the people who's listening on the podcast app right now. Make sure you give it a 5-star review, and come on over to YouTube.
Yeah,
if you haven't already. We post our schedule on our community tab every single week. We got a great show lined up for you. Like I said, we're going to be reviewing what the hype is about these trad wives, as they call them, which is just wives who claim to live in a more traditional sense rather than, I guess, in a more modern sense, and what the fuss is about that. And also, we're going to be getting into a problem, I guess, with Christian dating, according to one YouTube commentator. She thinks there's a huge problem with YouTube dating. We're going to give our thoughts on that. And so the whole theme of the show is trad or fad. And so let's go ahead. It doesn't look like we only got a couple people in here. We're just going to get right started with it. Here we go. Trad or fad. It's time to get down to the get down. These trad wives are blazing the internet, and we got to talk about it. Quality people, this is the quality life. Make sure that because we're trying to spread practical religion. So if you don't know what a trad wife is, it stands for traditional wife. And just to catch you up a little bit, we are going to play this video that's going to give you some more context.
So I'm here to make a clarification video about the term trad wife.
The term trad wife is trending online, fueled by a TikTok influencer who uses the term to refer to herself and how she sees her role in her marriage. A trad wife is short for a traditional wife, which in this case means a wife who manages the household while the husband manages to have a job, I guess. Recently, TikTok influencer Estee Williams went viral for her videos showcasing her life as a proud trad wife, cooking, cleaning, and maintaining a perfect 50s aesthetic appearance. Her content was met with much online criticism from people claiming her influence was upholding patriarchal values. Some online critics called her hypocritical, as her content creation could be considered a form of work in itself. Others tried to explain the faults in romanticizing an era that restricted rights for women. Williams' TikTok account has received coverage in outlets like the Daily Mail, and many TikTokers have made content responding to Williams, critiquing her lifestyle, while others seem to come to her defense.
All right, so that is kind of what the hype of a trad wife is all about. Is a lot of these women are purposefully choosing to go into a more traditional role, be the caretakers of the house, while their husbands go out and are more the breadwinners who provide for the family. And a lot of people are saying, no, that's backwards. We've progressed past that. You're putting us back into, or women back into, an oppressive state if you are trying to push that. So what are your initial reactions as a woman living in the modern era?
I would say, I don't see a problem with wanting to have a more traditional lifestyle.
What?
I mean, that's kind of the direction I personally want to go in.
Right.
But even as someone who probably disagrees with her lifestyle, it's like, how does that affect you?
Exactly.
Like, why do you care so much that she decides to, live more traditionally, and she's sharing things that other people who want to be traditional would want to see?
No, I definitely agree with that. I think it's a choice that she is purposely making, saying like, hey, like, y'all can do your own thing. And she may put online like, hey, this is the decisions that I make. And people are saying like, that's opposite of what you're claiming to do, because people are so stuck on, you're trying to act just like the women back then, rather than saying, I'm taking some of the values of the women back then. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where they're conflating the two things. They're thinking just because you're being inspired and you're taking values and some of the traditions of the women that or of the roles that women played back then and applying it to your life, that you are somehow sending women backwards, when it's actually the opposite. She now has the freedom to say, okay, I could choose to be more of a modern woman where I go out and I'm in the workforce and I'm doing my thing, but I have this freedom and I have a husband that's willing to participate in a dynamic or in a household where the dynamics are more traditional rather than more modern. And I think that's a good thing. And we have a second video where Estee Williams, who's the girl that they were referring to, actually kind of explains exactly what a trad wife is. So we're going to break this down for you now.
Okay, so I'm here to make a clarification video because of the big controversy going around about the term trad wife and the intent behind the term, as well as the intent behind my channel and what I post. If you are not familiar with the term trad wife, it is a woman who chooses to live a more traditional life with ultra-traditional gender roles.
A woman who chooses. That's the biggest thing. And that's a big thing that people are saying, like, hey, you're sending us back in time before we had the right to choose. But then they're actually saying that, no, you shouldn't have a right to choose this form of lifestyle. So you wish.
Yeah, and I think it's funny because I think a lot of people think she's like brainwashed or something, when really she's like, this is what I want to do.
Right. It's like, if that's what she wants to do, isn't that what y'all have been fighting for women to be able to do, to make freedom of decisions? Or did y'all fight for women to only be subjected to the roles that they see fit today on like basically that are pushed by feminists? Mm-hmm. And I think that's harmful. Just as I think that it was harmful for women to solely be subjected to the traditional roles back then, I think that it's just as harmful to say, no, you can't be that, and you have to be more modern in this sense.
So the man goes outside the house, works, provides for the family. The woman stays home, and she's the homemaker. She takes care of the home and the children if there are any. The misconception about the trad wife movement, it's not really a movement. Nobody's pushing it. People are typically just living it and maybe showcasing their lifestyle like me. And we believe our place, specifically us as individuals, believe our purpose is to be homemakers. It doesn't mean that we are trying to take away what women fought for.
She said, so specifically us, we feel like our purpose. And that's a big thing because somebody else, like you said, that's more in line with your purpose. But say you were different, you had a different purpose in mind, or you felt called to do something else. You felt called to be more modern. It'd be perfectly fine if you were like, okay, I want to go out and I want to work and I want to really be a boss, right? Like, that's perfectly fine. You have the freedom to do that now. But to say that it's not purposeful for somebody to choose to stay at home and care for their family in a more traditional role, I think it's asinine. And also, that's a very important role as well, because you're staying at home. She's choosing to take care of household duties. She's choosing to pour into her kids more rather than being detached from them a lot more because she's off doing work or off trying to make money. And so there is a beneficial part to living and subjecting yourself to these traditional values.
Yeah, and this whole thing makes me think of when I was in high school, we had like advisement or something like that.
Right, like a little period.
Yeah, and we were like just going around talking about like what we would want to do, and there was one girl in there, and she was like, I really just want to be a mom and have a bunch of kids. Right. At the time, I was like, why would you want to do that? But now looking back, it's like, I see why someone would want to do that.
Right, yeah, you see the appeal, because everybody has different desires and different wishes. And so part of the fight for women is that you get the freedom to do whatever your wishes and desires and what you feel called to your purpose is. And so if this is how she feels, she shouldn't be getting bashed about doing it. And the fact that people are saying that, oh, because she posts online is a contradiction to how she chooses to live, it's like, no, it's not. It's like, because she has the flexibility to, do what she did, to carry out the traditional role in a more modern sense, right? It's like y'all are the ones actually trying to say, put her in a box because she wants to be in a box. And she's like, no, I'm adopting some of these traditional values, but also because of modern technology and because of the modern freedom that I have, I can be flexible and I can post online and I can maybe gain a little passive income, or not really passive income because she's doing the work with, putting out content, but I can gain a little more income that provides for or helps to sustain and provide for my household as well. All right, let's continue.
Are a lot of people trying to make this a sinister thing or put some other darker meaning behind the term trad wife? Nobody is doing that. No trad wife TikTokers are saying every woman's place is in their home. We as individuals are just choosing to be homemakers.
So that's an important key that she hit on there, was no one's saying that every woman has to be this, all right? We're just saying, like, this is the lifestyle that we are choosing.
This works for us.
This works for us. And if you rock with this, we're going to show you how we live our lives so that you can feel like you have a sense of community, which is another thing. It's like a lot of women have fought for communities with being a boss, communities with this, communities with that, and which is great. So now you have a community for all these different things, but then they left out the community for the people who, felt right in a more traditional sense. And I think that's what the trad wives are bringing back and what they're hitting on.
That's all. Trad wives also believe that they should submit to their husbands and serve their husbands and family. And that triggers people because the words submit and serve, it makes women think that we're saying that we're less than a man. That's not what we're saying. Trad wives just believe that they are here as women for a different role, equally as important though.
So why don't you hit on that little term, submission and service to your husband? So why would a woman even want to do that and put herself in that position?
Well, I think there's a certain type of protection there and safety in a sense. And I think people think submission is like just this bad word and it's oppressive, when really I think there's order to it. It's like, biblically, it's like wives submit to their husbands, husbands love their wives. Like there's like a teamwork there. Right. So, well, it's also husbands love your wives and lay down their lives as Christ loved the church. So there's a submission in that verse in Ephesians 5 that is there's a great responsibility on the husband as well. So it's not just husbands submit to or wives submit to your husbands. It's like husbands, you also have to give your life up for your wife. You have to be willing to, be the provider and protector of your wife in a sense. So yeah, that's good. That's good.
I can make another video on that another time. To be a homemaker and to have traditional values does not make us bad people. It's 2022. Women should have the choice to be homemakers or not without being judged. And women should also be able to use the term trad wife, which means traditional wife, and not be shunned for wanting to be more traditional.
Amen. I like that. So we're about to get straight into our points. So first point, Kenya's point. What is that?
Being a traditional wife is hard work in a different way.
So explain yourself. Why is it hard work in a different way?
Because it's like, even though you're not going outside the house, you still have to make sure, okay, is my husband good? If you have kids, are my kids good? Right. And then after that, okay, is my house in order? Because, there were times when I was a kid and I would go over to like a friend's house or something and their house was not in order and I could just feel the tension. So I think being a traditional wife is like, you set the home, you make it peaceful. Right. There's just certain things. And then also, like, even if you're a traditional wife, you can still do side businesses. You can do side stuff. Right. like a Proverbs 31 woman. Like she took care of her home. She had that in order.
Right.
God first, all that kind of stuff. But she also had things that she was doing. Like she was out there buying land and stuff. So it's like
there's a boss aspect to being a, traditional wife, because you have responsibility in a different way, right? And I think most people, or most modern women, and I guess feminists would say, no, you're still up under a man, so that is oppressive. But the fact is, it's wives submit to your husbands, and so it's only in a biblical sense, if we're speaking biblically, it's only that once you join the holy union and join in holy matrimony, that you're supposed to submit to your husband, not like men are over women in all of life. And I think I would reject that notion. So let's get to your Bible verse. Oh, actually, let's get to my point first. My point says the same people who are preaching that trad wives are sinister are the same people who are championing Dylan Mulvaney's womanhood. And so I think this is a really big point, because people who are saying that she shouldn't have the right to be a trad wife are also championing the womanhood of Dylan Mulvaney. Now, I'm not going to get into, the politics,
that's
and
a whole nother video.
That's a whole nother conversation. But do they not see the contradiction there? It's like you fought for all women to be free and to make, choices for the choices that they want to make, right? And you're championing this person and you're putting down this person just because you feel like, oh, this is sending them back in time. But in reality, she's actually giving it a modern spin to where she's actually expressing and showing that, yeah, I'm traditional, but I'm still able to be free with these traditional values, because, yeah, I can start an online, or I can gain a profit from, my online content that I'm putting out. And so let's get into our Bible verses, starting with Kenya's first. She chose Proverbs 31:27, and it reads,
She looks well to the ways of her household, and she does not eat bread of idleness.
So why'd you choose that?
I chose this one because, it goes back to the Proverbs 31 woman that I was talking about, and she's not idle or lazy. So like traditional wives can be seen as, oh, they're not doing anything.
Right.
But it's like, no, you're working, you're consciously making sure things are in order, put together correctly.
Right.
And if you don't have those things in order, then everything goes downhill after that. So I chose that one because of that.
I would agree. So my Bible verse is John 8:31-32, and it says, Then Jesus said to the Jews who had believed in him, If you continue in my word, you are truly my disciples, and you will know the truth, and the truth will make you free. And I chose that because, we need to recognize the truth of, what is being expressed and what is being said. It's like, yeah, it's good to keep fighting for the equality and the freedom of women. I think that's an important fight that we always need to strive to keep balance on both sides. But at the same time, you also have to recognize your hypocrisy when you're championing one thing and, fighting for the womanhood over here and saying that, okay, this is a way to live, but then you're condemning this other way, even though you're fighting for the freedom of all. So let's see. Natalie had an interesting comment that I wanted to put up there. She said,
I just want to add that for men, the Bible is implying more than just the provider and protector. To say love your wife as you love the church implies respecting your wife and treating them with care.
Exactly. Because that's what Jesus did when he walked. He walked the earth with love, loving everybody. And there is a self-sacrifice that you have to make as a man in that context, in the Ephesians 5 context.
Yeah.
But it's also a good example for all of us to follow as well. So that was a great comment. We will be right back looking at some more of your comments in just a second. But if you're watching the replay, we want to know your thoughts down in the comments. You want to check this video out next. Until next time, don't be beta. So the alpha
and the omega.
We'll be right back if you're in the live chat. Monday, we are starting a new podcast with me. It's going to be called Profitable Conversations. Basically, this is going to be my podcast where I explore my big ideas, but I'm also going to be exploring big ideas and walking through testimonies with people that I am close to that I think are cool. And it's not necessarily all going to be just like scripture. It's going to be life experiences, how people have come to God through those experiences, how people view God in a variety of different ways, of course, like biblically grounded. But yeah, we're going to explore a lot of different things, and yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. So Profitable Conversations, we're going to be starting those. Our first episode will be, we will produce it live on Monday, and it will be every Monday subsequently after that. So you are going to want to tune in to that. So it's just going to be another, podcast experience that we are going to offer on the Quality Life YouTube channel. And
Yay, that's so exciting.
Quality Hangouts. Time to read your comments. Amen. Answer your questions. All that good stuff. Thank you guys for rocking out with us. Make sure that you... Yeah, we don't want to be quality by ourselves. We got some quality people in the building. Shout out to DELUXE in the house. Shout out T-Mac. Shout out Cindy RARA, a.k.a. Aunt Cindy. So let's keep it rocking. Let's see. We had another comment from Nat. She said,
I think that the culture is quick to say submit to your husband in a domineering way, neglects the fact that godly husbands truly value their wives and cherish them because they cherish the church.
Right, yeah. So that it's used abrasively by both sides, right?
Yeah, it
and
is.
So women are like, when you say submit, that means you're trying to treat us like a doormat, and so therefore we need to reverse the power dynamics and oppress the oppressor in a sense. And guys are like, oh, it says submit, so that means all men are over women, and you need to do what we say. And I reject all of that because it's all
buns.
It's just not good. It's just not good. Sonja Prophet. I call my mom by her first name.
Don't do that.
She says, you might have to get it because it's just not working for me. I don't know. I think my internet's acting up right now. Yeah, I don't know. Okay. So my mom says, the wisdom dripping in the chat. There we go. Just being a little slow there. Let's see. We had let's get to this one really quick. Aunt Cindy said, child care is very expensive too, so that might help with the decision. Right. Oh, I think that's trying to catch up to all the things that we put in. So let's put up Aunt Cindy's again. Yeah, so she said childcare is very expensive too, so that might help with the decision. Which is like, yeah, so whatever union that you get into, you have to consult with your partner and see how the dynamics of the relationship is going to play out, and based on your goals and ambitions in life and where you are at that time, because it could change over time, but at least you have to constantly be in communication of what the best thing and the best roles for you at that time are. And that's being wise in how you move. It's like, so like right now, we would be more in a little bit more of a modern spin relationship right now, where the goal is to be in a more traditional setting later down the road. Would you agree?
I would agree.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, let's see. Aunt Cindy had a good question. She said, what about men that stay home with the kids? What about it? So I think men that stay home with the kids, I think it's important. I mean, I think anybody who stays home with kids is an important role. I do think men tend to be more ambitious, and a lot of times if men are staying home with the kids, are they maxing out their ambition in a sense? Not that you can't max out your ambition if you're staying home with the kids. So like for me, if we were married and we had a kid, I would be at home because I work from home. So I would
But that's different.
I wouldn't be a stay-at-home dad, but I would be home with the kids. That doesn't mean that you can't, just like she, has a little side business or puts out content or whatever. I think it's important that everybody is working and being fruitful. That's the biggest thing. So whether that's you're pouring into your kids, or starting a side business, whatever your role is and whatever you're doing, you need to be fruitful in it. And your partner needs to understand, like, okay, this is how the roles gel together so that we can, work together as a team.
I would say, I don't think it would work for me personally.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I see.
So I was giving more of a overarching. Like that could never work for me as far as like just staying home with the kid. Like I would feel.
I just feel like you're not really
non-purposeful.
like yeah, purposeful. But it
But
works for some people.
But some men find purpose in that, and so it does actually work for some people. So I'm not gonna knock it. Hey guys, you see the shirt? High speed chicken feed. Yeah, we're going for 13 and 1 tonight at 8:15. We have not lost a game that I have played in, and we play the Kakimbas tonight.
Combos.
Or Kakimbas, whatever
it's
you want to call them.
Kakimbas.
I think it's the Kakimbas. Basically just big ape-looking figures, I guess. I don't know.
What?
That's what a Kakimba is. I think it's like a
For
monkey or
real?
something. I'm pretty sure. Let me look it up. Kakimba.
I remember I looked it up on Urban Dictionary.
Kakimba.
That was an interesting definition.
Oh, there's a resort called the Kakimba. Okay, maybe it wasn't a monkey. I thought it was. I don't know. Maybe that's an L on my part. Anyway,
Buns.
we have one more topic that we're going to get to before we get out of here, and it is surrounding Christian dating. One creator thinks that Christian dating is buns and that there's no masculine men left. And so, yeah, we're going to talk about it. Let's get into it. Christian dating nightmare. Man, are all the masculine men gone? The real femme sapien thinks so. We're going to talk about it right now on The Quality Life. Make sure that you... Because we are spreading practical religion. Okay, let me see. I think it's on the video. So here we go.
I've been watching and thinking a lot about church in all the churches that I've gone to. And my general observation of the men, Christian dating is a nightmare. Christian dating is a nightmare because there's like only betas to choose from. We have a feminized church. Honestly, sometimes there's only one man in the entire congregation that's actually masculine. Like, really think about that. Like, these women don't have a healthy fear of their husbands, and they're controlling their husbands via scripture. And the idea is just security, security, security. And I'm just not convinced that this was God's design for man and woman. For you to be a plow horse, you just provide, because you don't even protect, because you need to be physically strong to protect. Like, you need to be able to end a threat that enters your home. Point blank.
Big words there. Big words.
Yeah.
And it was interesting. She says, what do you think? Like, he's just a plow? Like, he's just only there to provide, which is
a lot
interesting.
of people have that mindset. My point is, if the churches stop pandering to women out of fear of losing funds, there would be less beta men.
Why do you say that? It's kind of crazy.
I say that because...
Well, yeah, there would be less beta men because they'd be following the alpha and omega, but let's continue.
That's good. That's good. But I said that because there are beta/weak men in the church, because I think they are taught this soft Christianity, this soft Jesus, rather than what Christianity really is, what it really means to follow Christ.
Right.
And because I think going back to pandering to women, because I mean, women are most likely to give, most likely to spend money. So it's like they don't want, if they tell women like what the truth is,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of them might not like how that sounds and be like, okay, I'm leaving.
Ooh, that's interesting. That's a very interesting point. Yeah. That's a super interesting point. So let's get to your Bible verse really quick. So your Bible verse was
Galatians 1:10, for I am now seeking the approval of man or of God, or am I trying to please man? If I were still trying to please man, I would not be a servant of Christ. And I chose that one because I think the church should be less about making people feel good, thinking about, well, will they still stay here if I say this thing?
Y, and Z, yeah.
Yes. I think it should just be, just talk about God. Just talk about what the scriptures say. Just talk
and how
about
to be
how to
fruitful.
be, yes, how to be
with
fruitful,
the scriptures, yeah.
practical, all that kind of stuff. Just focus on like those things rather than trying to make people feel good and fluff them up kind of thing.
No, and I think that's the biggest reason why men are fleeing from the church in general, why more masculine men. One, because they're not being lifted up in a masculine way at church, but two, there's a lot of like magic or mysticism that they see that's being preached, and they're like, this is just not practical for what I'm trying to do in my life. Church used to be about, seeking the mind of God, seeking the Spirit of God, and advancing forward. And so that's why a lot of great minds from the past, even if they didn't necessarily profess their faith in Christianity, they always were doing or had some sort of spiritual guidance or reverence for God, because God is, the thing that we are exploring outside of ourselves, outside of humanity. And the more we explore ourselves, the more we can, explore God. And it's about taking the values that Christ has laid forward and applying those to our lives, rather than taking specific things that are in the Bible and using them to tell people how to act in more of a moralistic way, in a sense. It's like, yes, we can use things to say, hey, like, I see this in the culture, and that's not cool. That's looks like it's evil, right? And this is why, according to the values that I have. But at the same time, that's not happening in the churches. They're, like you said, they're just kind of pandering to one side so that they can advance in business and build up, their pockets. And that's honestly, a lot of these men who are doing that are doing it in a masculine sense, right? But they're being snakes, right? They're actually taking on the spirit of the serpent rather than the spirit of Christ. And so here's my point. My point is, men are no longer pushed to be ambitious, but rather they are being told to get out of women's way. Man, and this is super, super, like, it just gets under my skin, because a lot of men today are not ambitious at all. A lot of men, so I heard something today that said there's like statistics out there that show that there's between like 7 to 10 million men who are in like their primitive age, like their prime age, and they're just not working, right? And so the unemployment rate looks bad, but it's because these men just are choosing not to work. They're choosing to stay home and essentially do nothing. They'll just do drugs or they'll play video games, and they're being non-productive. And I think that is a huge reason. It's like, okay, you're being ambitious and you're using your ambition in the wrong way. You're chasing a high instead of chasing, something that is productive and meaningful to not only yourself but also to society. And that is the spirit of the devil, right? Where you are doing things that, and you're appealing more to your carnal nature rather than, having compassion and building the community that is around you. And so that is why I chose that. The Bible verse that I chose was 2 Timothy 4:3-4. It says, "For the time is coming when people will not put up with sound teaching, but have their ears tickled. They will accumulate for themselves teachers to suit their own desires and will turn away from listening to the truth and wander away to myths." And so that's what's happening now. People are listening to the ear ticklers. They're listening to what sounds good to them, what feels good to them, and they're following things that are fictitious. And I mean, I'm big into following the patterns of mythology, but there's certain patterns of mythology that are actually truthful, that lead to truth, and then there's some that are just silly. So when it says that you're appealing to like myths, that means you're essentially appealing to lies and things that are non-productive. And so the fact that you should follow your heart as a man and stay home, that's just bad. That's just, you're listening to the serpent in a sense, and to put it in religious terms. What you should be doing is finding ways to be productive, and you'll feel better about yourself if you get out there and you're doing something productive for society, rather than, sitting back and just, I guess, getting high or doing whatever they're doing.
Being lazy.
Being lazy in a sense. But that's just our thoughts. We want to know your thoughts. Leave them down in the comments. If you're watching the replay, you're going to want to check out this video next because YouTube recommends it. And until next time, don't be serve the alpha
And the omega.
We'll be right back in the live chat.
How can we build a better community? I think it starts with the value system. Okay, answering the second part of the question. I think it starts with the value system and morals. I think that's where community starts. But how we go about doing that, I think the biggest thing is like, if you don't see it there, then you create it. I think that's something Chelsea, she said one time on our interview, she was like, she didn't see any Christian communities around where she was with girls her age, so she just made it. So I think sometimes we have to take the leadership role and do it.
No, I agree with that. And I think for me, how I would answer the question is, I think we have to get back to the mindset of, if we win, then you win, or if we win, I win. It's like this more of a team mindset, because that's essentially what a community is. It's a team of people, working together to build life, rather than, a team working to accomplish winning a game or winning a championship. And so a lot of our culture is focused on what I can do and what's going to be most beneficial for me. But just like in a team sport, you have to sometimes sacrifice what's immediately beneficial for you in the short term, so that everybody can win in the long term. It's like, hey, if I put this bunt down as a baseball player or a softball player and I advance my teammate, it's like, yeah, my batting average doesn't go up, but I got my teammate in a position, and that could be the run that we need to win the game and help us to advance in our season, or potentially help us to win the championship. And so that's how the mindset that we have to build. It starts with everybody individually recognizing that, hey, this thing is bigger than me, so that we can build a strong community. Farewell, and we bid you adieu, but not before we recognize the quality people. One more time. It's time to read your comments, answer some more questions based on the conversation that we having. Quality people, make sure that to spread practical religion. What we got in the chat, Kenya?
Oh, we got this interesting question. She says, Josh, would you define the unambitious as simps?
So probably they would probably. So simps is more of a you just give in to the wishes of a woman who is kind of bossing you around. But also it kind of refers to a man who just kind of takes anything. He's very submissive to any type of authority, and he's just kind of bossed around. So yeah, I would probably define him as a simp, because if you were to get into a one-on-one interaction with like a female, he'd probably be simpish.
Simpish.
That is the name of the beat that comes on at the beginning of the live streams.
Mhm.
Simpish. Watching these women are vicious. Ain't living lavish. She'll send you back with the fishes. None of us big fish. What's a well to the whole ocean? Ha! Wish I was joking. She'll have you drown in emotions. Oh yeah.
There's a little teaser.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Next, we have remote working would greatly advance the family structure. Most men would have a feeling of emasculation if they are not contributing financially to their family.
Big facts. Yeah, I think most men want to be there and have this sense that they need to provide.
Feel needed.
Well, yeah, feel needed. It's not even necessarily like a provide thing, which I guess it amounts to providing, but they want to feel like that they are being leaned on by, like their family can lean on them, and that they're strong in a sense, instead of, yeah, feeling emasculated, like you said. All right, Deluxe.
Well, the way things are with the economy, it's truly based off what's best for the marriage. Both have to agree with it.
Yes, exactly. That's a good point there, because you have to decide based on like your income. There's a lot of different factors that go into it, how the dynamics of whatever relationship that you're getting into is going to play out. Because if you don't do that, then yeah, if you fail to plan, you're going to fail.
The Bible does say, bind the strong man.
I like it. You good over there?
Yeah, I click send.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes the internet's a little slow, so we'll just wait for it to come up. But yeah, thank you guys for rocking out with us. It looks like Nat had to go. Thank you, Nat, for signing on again. T-Max in the chat. Luxurious Elements is in the chat.
There it is.
Coruscant Cindy. Okay, what did T-Max say?
Said, get the kids up for school, make breakfast, get them dressed, take them to school, make the kids lunch, take them to school, go back home, clean up, run errands, have dinner ready before you pick them up, kids' extracurricular activities, kids' homework, bath, and more. So I think she was saying what all has to be done in like the household as a traditional wife.
Oh, yeah. Shout out to, yeah, because your mom plays that role. She was more of in a more traditional role where she was at home, and now she's a perfect example. She has a side business, and she has a purpose that expands what the traditional woman that was in the 50s would have been able to do.
Mm-hmm.
But it's she's still being traditional, but in a more modern sense, and she's free to do that. Yeah. She's free to make those decisions. So, shout out to T-Mac. Shout out to T-Mac. And also, everything that she says, that's what young men should be involved in, is like making sure that they're getting dressed, making sure that they're getting to school, making sure that they're in extracurricular activities, because if they're in these different things and they're being raised in a way to where everything is like goal oriented and they're focused on having ambition and always pushing towards a goal, then once they're raised up, like I can't imagine not being ambitious, because I played sports all my life. So I was always chasing getting a win, getting a championship, competing, competition. And that's what a lot of guys are lacking now. And that we deal with that when I coach too. A lot of these kids just lack the competitive spirit, right? It's like, oh, I'm out here, baseball is fun.
I mean,
And it's
there's
like,
also the participation trophy kind
right,
of thing that doesn't
exactly.
help.
It's because we give them so many handouts, and we're we give them bread when they don't deserve bread. And it's like, no, it's like they need to go and get the bread for themselves if they didn't earn the right to be given the bread, in a sense. So, I mean, that was probably a bad analogy because it sounds like you're trying to starve your kid, but I think they get what I'm saying. Like, if they didn't earn it, then they shouldn't receive it. And so we've gotten away from that as a society with like the No Child Left Behind was like one of the big things. And I forget who did that. It was either Bush or Obama.
It was Michelle. No, it was Bush.
I think it was Bush before Obama got in office.
Yes.
I mean, Republicans, Democrats, they all screw everything up. So because they're all appealing to certain things. And so we as quality people and as Christians need to stick to our Christian values and let those be the guiding force for our lives, regardless of what the policies and the laws say. Because if they don't align if the laws don't align with our biblical values, then that doesn't mean we totally disregard and disrespect the laws, but we don't have to conduct our lives according to the law, and make a big fuss about it. So let's see. I think we just had a comment come up.
She says, Tarva, that is for women that strive to genuinely take care of their home, husband, and children. These modern women can't cook, want nannies, and compete with their husbands.
That's pretty funny.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, because it goes back to the people wanting something for nothing. So it goes on both sides. So men are being lazy and non-ambitious and lacking masculinity, and women are saying, no, like I deserve the world without having to work for anything or bringing anything to the proverbial table. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that is interesting. Well, guys, it's been fun. I got to get ready to go get a W. That is the goal for tonight. High Speed Chicken Feed is back in action. We want to thank you. Y'all have been great quality people. Thank you for listening on the podcast app. Thank you for tuning in on YouTube. We will see you next week. Remember, on Monday, we are starting Profitable Conversations, so you're not going to want to miss that. And yeah, y'all have a great Friday and a great weekend after that. We will see you later. I've done wrong and I've done right. Got a sinner's appetite. Didn't swallow up this pride. Now I'm tasting humble pie. You ain't masculine, you weak. Leave that girl, she for the streets. 304s will get you burnt. Is she wife equality? Amen. Yeah. Is she wife equality?